Good afternoon, and warm greetings to all of you. By the way, where is the clock ticking? Where is the timer? So, we in India are really in the middle of very exciting times. And the headline news in recent times is the fact that startups have been brought on the center stage. Now, some of you may wonder what is so exciting about it. Why should, at a national level or at a government level, why should we feel so excited if startups have been brought on the center stage? But the answer is very simple. If we look around the most important technology trends of the last few years, we will come to realize that more than 90% of them are an outcome of startup innovations. Just 10% or so, the modern ideas, the breakthrough ideas, the cutting edge ideas, just 10% of them have come from the stable of large corporations, from their innovation labs, etc. And more than 90% of them are the creations of startups. We just need to look around our own daily lives, what kind of central role innovations like, let us say, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Amazon, all these Uber, all these kind of agencies play, and we realize that all of these have been the product of startups. In fact, we cannot today imagine what was the kind of world before Facebook was invented, before Twitter was there, before WhatsApp was there, and we now realize the phenomenal change and transformation these kind of innovations have brought in our lives. So in a way, these have been truly disruptive and transformative innovations. Now, the more quickly and widely we embrace the startup world, the better we will be as a nation. And we all know that while India has a great pool of talent, we are not, till some years ago, not really a big force to reckon with when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to innovation. But now that the Prime Minister has really brought the startup world on the center stage, he has given a very strong message, which many of you would have followed when the Startup India program was launched. That is really coming as a very, very great piece of news for all of us. But what I want to really tell you is that how do you really walk this talk? I mean, creating a very grand vision, conveying your intent is great, but what really matters in India is whether it is actually happening on the ground or not. We have been criticized from time memorial of being excellent planners. Our plans on paper, 5-year plans, various kind of government schemes, various projects look absolutely great. But when it comes to getting them off the ground, implementing them with lots of professionalism, that is where we fail. And if we let history repeat itself when we deal with the world of startups as well, what will all this good intent will remain just good intent on paper, and nothing will really materially change on ground. So what I would like to share with you in the next 10 to 12 minutes or so is that how we are walking the talk. In fact, just as the Prime Minister has his vision of startup of the Startup India, we have preceded his ambitions and intentions with our own program in the state of Telangana. And I would like to share some insights from what we have been planning, what we have delivered so far, and what it is that we intend to do in the coming years. Now, many of you who live here would be aware that Telangana is the newest state in the country. This is the 29th state, and we take lots of pride in calling ourselves as the startup state. So our thinking, our strategizing is also very entrepreneurial. We have felt that if the new state has to really be counted, reckoned as one of the most progressive and advanced states in the country, we have to really think out of box. We have to really pull those levers which can really catapult us in the big league immediately. Because many of you who live here would also be aware that when the new state was getting created, when the long periods of agitation and disturbances were going on, there were lots of critiques, lots of naysayers who really felt that this new state will be a disaster, it will collapse, it will be an epitome of maladministration. So there is also a challenge to kind of deliver that nothing of that kind will happen. The state will really advance on its path of progress and glory, and new opportunities will be really seized with both the hands to deliver good days for people here. So we in our thinking have really valued the contribution which startups, the contribution that entrepreneurs, that innovators can make, and we are realizing their dreams by partnering with them in every possible step. Now, the first big thing which the government here in Telangana has done is to create T-Hub. Now, some of you may have heard about it. I'm sure most of you would have heard about it. T-Hub today is the largest technology incubator of the country. This is a 70,000 square feet facility which can house 800 people at the same time. There is no similar facility anywhere in the country as on today. And the appetite in the startup community for such an infrastructure, for such a facility is so high that within a week, the entire place was saturated. And if you go to T-Hub, some of you I'm sure would have, but if you haven't, I would urge upon you to at least make a visit, an exploratory visit. The design of the building itself is very, very creative. In fact, when you get in the building, you cannot even imagine that such a thing is possible within the government system. Even people, we have received lots of visitors from the Silicon Valley, the mecca of entrepreneurship, and even their eyes pop out when they see a facility like this. Even Mr. Satya Nadella, the president of Microsoft, commented that he hasn't seen anything like this in the valley itself. So the place is very creatively designed. It fosters a sense of solidarity, a sense of community, because for many of us who have dabbled in entrepreneurship, in innovation, we all know how lonely and how complicated that journey is, because still the kind of maturity and sensitivity and understanding that we expect in the society, which encourages people with good ideas, that is still not, that critical mass is still not there in our country. So often you face lots of questions, at times you face lots of self-doubts also on whether this is the right path that you have chosen. But when you see 800 people doing the same thing, you get that very strong feeling of bonding, belongingness, and all these doubts and all these questions are immediately put at rest. So the building fosters creativity. We have also created very high standards of infrastructure there. So we provide 1 gig of internet speed. We have, of course, free water, power. And the best thing is that we subsidize the cost of space enormously. So if you were to take a similar space in the open market, perhaps you would be paying 4 to 5 times more. So that much of cost we provide as subsidy. So while the building is fascinating, but what happens inside the building is equally amazing. Every startup which is onboarded in T-Hub goes through a very, very structured mentoring program. And we have been very lucky to get a very, very talented pool of mentors. Some of them very big names in the world of technology, many of them from the VC world. And they have chosen to give their time and their minds and share their experiences with the incubators there. The T-Hub also is a very good example of how private and the public can come together. So we have 3 great institutions which are our partners for T-Hub. And the IIIT, where T-Hub is located, is the technology partner. ISB, the Indian School of Business, is the partner for business planning, for business mentorship. And NALSAR, the law school here, one of the best in the country, provides a partnership to T-Hub for legal matters, for IP, for patents, and so on and so forth. So the faculty of these 3 institutions also are available to the incubators. So if you need to tackle a technology problem, or you need to figure out a business plan, or you have some legal query to figure out, faculty from these institutions are available to kind of guide you and make your path simpler. We also have created an innovation fund, a T-Hub innovation fund, which again is a very, very desperate need in the world of startups. There are hundreds of people with brilliant ideas, but many of them fail to get executed because the right quantum of funding at the right time often goes missing. So we have created a 100 crore T-Hub innovation fund, of which government has contributed 10 crores, and we have been very successful in raising the balance from the world of VCs, from PEs, from other institutional investors. So, and after creating that initial fund of that size, we realized that the demand and the appetite is so much that immediately we have decided to scale it up by 6 times. So that 100 crore fund will eventually become 600 crores. So a $100 million fund eventually is what will be available as seed money to startups. There is something else also which we have really pioneered, which has been accepted very, very with lots of gratitude in the world of startups, which is that government has announced that government will become the biggest consumer of the products and services of the startups if it is of relevance to us. So in the startup and innovation policy that we are about to announce, we have introduced this clause that if your product, if your service is of relevance to us, we will assure you that we will become your biggest consumer. Normally, typically, the government procurement processes are quite different. You have to participate in a bidding process. You need to be, first of all, eligible to come in that bidding fold. You must have a track record of these many years of experience, this much of turnover. But obviously, startups just won't be able to match those kind of eligibility requirements. So we have relaxed all that. You need not participate in any bidding process. And you have a relevant product or service, you can just offer it to us, and we assure you that we'll buy it. So if you need to get a market created, we will do it for you. And then it is your talent and your worth on how do you deepen that market further. But the first push to create that market for you will be provided by us on behalf of the government. There is something else also that we have started working on, and we are likely to formalize it in the coming few months, which is to create outposts of T-Hub in various other geographies, which also values innovation, startups, entrepreneurship, etc. So Silicon Valley obviously is the most logical choice, but there are other geographies in the world as well. For instance, UK, Spain, Singapore, Israel, etc., which also encourages lots of, which has a very encouraging attitude towards the startup world. Now, what we are attempting to do is to create outposts of the T-Hub in all these geographies. The thinking is that if there is a promising startup which is incubating here, but it has the promise of doing well in the US markets or the UK markets or the Israeli market, an opportunity should be there. A conduit should be available for that startup to really access the ecosystem there. And this is what these outposts of T-Hub are going to do. So if you are a promising startup, the outpost of T-Hub in Silicon Valley will help you access the US market. So it will give you mentorship, it will provide mentorship linkages with you there, it will offer some funding there, it will create that kind of a market opportunity for you there. And of course, the reverse flow is also possible. So if there is a promising US startup which wants to look at the Indian markets, T-Hub can become the gateway to really allow it or facilitate its entry into India, help them understand how business is done in this country, and so on. So this is another initiative which is getting lots of positive response and traction in the world of startups. Most of you will be aware that there are certain natural verticals which have organically grown in the past and have become today very well-known clusters in the country at least, and in some cases even in the world. So for example, Hyderabad is considered to be a very strong center for life sciences and biotechnology. Hyderabad is considered to be a very strong center for entertainment technologies like animation, gaming, VFX, comics, and so on. Hyderabad is also considered to be a very strong center for the defense and aerospace industry. So we have now decided to create niche verticals of T-Hub addressing these areas. So while the existing T-Hub addresses all kinds of technology platforms, but in days to come, we will have a vertical of T-Hub which encourages only startups in the entertainment technology area. There will be another vertical which takes care of startups only in the health and life sciences and biotechnology area, and so on and so forth. So the first one on entertainment technologies has already been started. It is of course not as large as the T-Hub, but still it is a largish facility, 20,000 SFT, 200 odd seater, and you have that specialized experts, domain experts of that specialization who are there to mentor you, to guide you. Now, the last few things that I want to speak about is that while all this is happening here in Hyderabad, we are also interested in promoting a statewide culture of entrepreneurship. As we know, lots of imagination. We just saw this fascinating video on how toys can spark creativity, how toys can spark imagination, and that too, toys which are made without any great kind of industrial processes. Now, most of it does happen in our villages, in our small towns, but obviously there is no mechanism to really foster that creativity or channelize it in a particular logical direction. So we have another institution like the T-Hub, which is called TASK, the Telangana Academy of Skills and Knowledge. TASK works with lots of engineering colleges in the state, actually 170 engineering colleges and 140 other professional colleges. And many of these are colleges in the rural areas, remote areas, in the districts. And when we approach these colleges, when we interact with the students and faculty there, we also try to provide a very strong message on what kind of opportunities exist in the world of entrepreneurship. So those of whom who do not really want to get into a regular 9-to-5 kind of job or a career in a fixed kind of way, we give them the complete know-how on how to crack the world of entrepreneurship. And we also provide lots of hand-holding support if you have this idea, how to really take it forward. We all know that engineering students do lots of student projects. Many of these projects just remain on paper. You just submit the project report just for the sake of fulfilling some academic requirement, but you don't really follow it up. So all that is now changing because of this opportunities that we are creating, not just in Hyderabad, but in the rest of the state as well. So as I said at the very beginning, the faster and the deeper and with more greater sincerity we embrace the world of startups, the quicker our progress will be. And we firmly believe in this motto, T-Hub, our policies, our infrastructure support, the pool of mentors, the T-Hub outposts are all things which have already rolled off on the ground. So this is one state which is tomorrow going to set standards for the entire country. Already T-Hub and our innovation policy are creating a very big buzz, not just within the country, but for many people across the world also. They are now standing up and taking notice of how this small state in India is taking the lead in becoming the startup state. And for those of you who have an interest in the world of startup, who are toying with ideas, who have this inclination for entrepreneurship, I would really welcome you to partner with us. T-Hub's doors are always open for you. And post my talk as well, I'll be available for some time. So if you want to have a one-to-one, learn more about the ways in which your startup, your idea can be onboarded, I'll be very happy to interact with you. So look forward to staying connected. Good wishes to all of you, and thank you very much for your patient listening.